welcome everyone here to Visions to Venture. I'm here down at Provo, recording an episode here with the Paleta Bar with William. First of all, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be able to record, um, and excited to see what we share, the knowledge, and see when we go from there. So, William, if you could please, introduce yourself, introduce your business, and just, how long you've been doing all that.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you, Javier, for having me on here on this podcast. So my name is William. I was originally born in Provo, Utah. And after graduating from BYU, I moved down to New Mexico in Albuquerque to work for a company. And it was down there that we ran into Paleta Bar. And we fell in love. My wife and I, we fell in love almost immediately. And so, we were going 4 or 5 times a week. And we're like, man, this is, next level quality. We really liked it. At first, there wasn't anything like, Paleta Bar growing up in Provo. So we were unfamiliar with the whole concept, but, we really fell in love with it. And we're like, you know what? There's not one up in Utah. So let's bring it up and see how it goes.
Okay. So how was the whole process for you? Like, so was this, you said it was like a franchise type of?
Yeah, so Blood Bar's a franchise. It started in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and it has since grown. There's about 35-ish locations across various states, including here in Provo.
Okay. And so so the process for that, when you bring it from here to Utah, was there like a different as far as like the laws here in Utah? Was it kind of what was like from when you decided to start bringing it here? How was like the process with like laws, cities, and everything?
Yeah, I can explain that. There's a lot of different avenues to wealth creation. One of them is business, and so my wife and I, we thought that business would be a great path to go down, especially earlier on in life. So the process is. We met with the Paleta Bar corporate, and we expressed an interest to open up a Paleta Bar in Utah. And from there, we signed a few documents, a few NDAs. They ran us through what's called qualification. So they made sure that we had the right financials, we had the right mindset, we had the right background to successfully open up a Paleta Bar store and to be able to run it. Any business venture is not going to be a easy undertaking, and so they want to make sure that the right person is there operating for the success of the store. So we signed an agreement that said, hey, we are allowed to open up a store in Provo. And about a year later, we actually opened. So from that point to the opening, we had to get the right permits. We had to find contractors for renovation. We had to find a space to lease. So we had to contact a commercial real estate agent who helped us with that. And then, we then had to buy all the supplies, the equipment, the inventory. We had to find staff. So all this is a learning experience for us. This is our first, restaurant type store that we've done. And so we really had to, the learning curve is quite steep and you make a lot of mistakes along the way, but it's part of the process, I think, yeah. And, as far as like the general layout from state to state, it's mostly the same. You'll find differences in compliance and code for, renovations or, health standards and stuff. But by and large, it's mostly the same from state to state.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really good to know. Especially, usually when I hear like opening of stores or, either hear Chick-fil-A or Subway,
Right.
You never really hear McDonald's, but kind of like seeing this, and especially like in this location area, I know it's like a college area,
Right.
so kind of it's good to kind of knowing, setting it here, finding the area, and finding that success here.
Yeah, and franchises differ vastly from each other too. You get some like Chick-fil-A where they'll do everything for you, right? They'll build it, they'll scout, right, the location, they'll build it up according to their specs, right? Or McDonald's, right? They have a whole team behind it. They're a very large corporation. Paleta Bar is still very small, and so a lot of it's pretty scrappy. And so it depends on which line you go into, which industry you go into, which franchise you go into as well. That'll change your experience. Yeah.
Okay. Um, and so with the what do you feel was one of like a biggest challenge bringing it here from Arizona to Utah? Like, what was something that you could say was a challenge, or maybe like a little like stepping, you know?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the challenge is going from idea to execution, right?
Mhm.
We all have ideas. We all have these great things we want to do, these great products we want to bring, to the market and whatnot. The challenge then becomes not only executing it and starting it up, but then running it day to day, right? It can get challenging at times. It can get, difficult. And it's being able to ride the ups, ride the downs. And so wake up every week, every day and saying, hey, yes, this is what I want to do for a foreseeable future. So I think, a lot of it's, I guess the mindset would be like the most challenging part,
Sure.
being able to persevere and persist.
Yeah. And I think it's the when you're saying about the execution, I feel that's kind of like going around and bringing this whole in a circle, and is the reason why want to share people's success, ideas and stuff like that. Because like a lot of people have those ideas but don't execute.
Right.
You could have just been like, oh, thinking, hey, I'll probably bring it here someday,
Right.
and it's just actually executing it, bringing it here, making it happen, and knowing that there's those ups and downs, and also you might put a product like like that flavor doesn't really work out,
Right.
and people are like, oh, like maybe and there might be that time where you bring in and they try it and they're like, you know what, I had a bad experience with Paleta Bar,
Right.
but I so that's good to kind of know. And how long have you been in business like here?
Yeah. So we opened up April of 2022
Okay.
last year. Right.
Oh, really?
Yep. So
Feels-
it's been about 9-10 months.
Um, as what's one advice that you would give any like an entrepreneur or a small business owner from that's starting day one, day 30, where they might already feel like, oh man, this is not gonna work out. Like I need to do something else. I need to give up. So what
Yeah.
advice would you?
That's tough. I would say, really understand yourself, right? There's a lot of different personality types, a lot of different risk tolerances, a lot of different mindsets. There's no one answer that's going to be right for everyone. Some people want to have a sure foundation first. That way, if they fail, they have something to fall back on, right? That's my wife. She's very conservative fiscally. She's an accountant, right? So she likes to have everything add up. So before we did anything business wise, we had to make sure we had a good, solid financial foundation. If this all fails, we're not going to lose our livelihood, right? We have something to fall back on. Other people are like, you know what? Let's max out all of our credit cards. Let's take out loans. Let's make sure there's no fail safe so that I have to succeed. So it really depends on how you are as an individual, and that will really depend on what strategy you use to make sure that you can follow through with the execution.
Correct. And with it being, I know you said 9-10 months. Is how is it like keeping that positive?
Yeah.
That positivity, like knowing like, hey, it's gonna it's the 10 months. Do you feel like it's going like, I mean, like how you envision in the beginning, or is it more like that? Oh, and maybe I need to tweak this, make some adjustments to it.
Good question. Yeah. So it's hard to forecast exactly how things
Okay.
are going to go, into the future. We have a 3 to 5 year plan at least, starting this. And so I wouldn't say it's going to our expectations in all things, in all ways, but in other ways, it has far exceeded our expectations as well.
Okay.
And so you kind of get a mixed bag. Like certain things you think are going to work out don't, but then other things you don't, plan on end up working out spectacularly.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's really good to 3 to 5. I feel 3 to 5 years as far as like having a plan is it's good.
like 95% of businesses fail in the first 5 years, right?
Correct.
So you gotta just make sure that you can get past that first year, and then that makes that next few years a little easier.
No, and yeah, because I have so far as I'm listening and encountering some either have started the first 2 years are like, okay, I'm reinvesting money into the company.
Right.
Other ones like the life changes, kids, kind of had
Right.
me stop the.
Yeah. So I mean, we had a newborn
Okay.
in March of last year, and this store opened up April, and so we were moving. We had a newborn. Things were crazy, and so yeah, there's definitely always wrenches that get thrown into your plans.
Correct, but it's also I mean for me I would say personally it's also that motivation, right?
Right.
To knowing like, okay, even having a child, little things happen, having that positive, okay, now we're going hard, let's go harder just to make sure
Right.
we're able to get past that first year and continue.
Yeah. So the question we always ask ourselves is not, what is going on. It's more like, okay, we have this situation. How do we make it work? Right? How do we overcome this? And that's kind of helped us reframe our mindset multiple times.
Okay, that's really good. I think you might have mentioned this, but is there? Do you feel like there's a key to success for small business for entrepreneurs? Like, do you feel like there's something like you say, hey, do this and you're gonna succeed, or is it more on like just like just let it happen and everyone's gonna have a different
Yeah, that's tough. Part of it's luck, part of it's skill. You can work the hardest, be the hardest worker in the world. If you're in a wrong time, wrong place, it's not gonna work out, Or you can just be the luckiest person and just start up a business that you wouldn't know it would succeed, and it blows up. And so it's a mixture of a lot of things in our control and out of our control. What's in our control is, the ability to persevere and persist despite the ups and downs and the challenges. And so I think it's important to focus on what we can control, and also realize that sometimes things, there are forces outside of our control that force us to pivot as well.
Correct. Just adjusting as
Right.
And making those changes. What's for you? How because I know I found you, like I said, I mentioned earlier, I found you on TikTok.
Right.
And making that trip, those 30 minutes, I think
Yeah.
it's worth it,
Uh-huh.
and kind of even letting people know, hey, let go to Paleta Bar. But how for you, what has worked as far as like marketing? Is there like a tool like
Yeah.
either whatever tool that you
Good
use?
question. Yeah. Marketing, advertising, one of the biggest problems in any business, whether it's a, storefront or a retail or, e-commerce platform, is distribution, right? Because you have the best product in the world. If you're not distributing it,
Mhm.
no one's going to know about it.
Right.
And so, when we first started, we did not do any paid marketing or any paid advertising. We had a few TikTok and Instagram influencers that just found us. They just found us one day, and then they started taking videos and showing their friends, and we blew up. That's one surprise, is we had no idea how we would launch in Provo, and we were pleasantly surprised the first 4 months with just how positive the social media community was to Paleta Bar. People drove 30 minutes. People drove 2 hours, 2.5 hours. They would tell us like, hey, we came from southern Utah. We drove 2.5 hours to get here.
Yeah.
Or up in north, like in Brigham City, or even like Logan, right? They come down just for Paleta Bar. And for us, that's like, hey, that's a good sign that people like our product, So that's definitely a pleasant surprise for us. Once that hype sort of died down, and because people move like in waves, right?
Yeah.
And things on the social media era is like very hype driven. And so once that died down, then it's almost like, oh, now the real work begins. Now we have to start putting out, marketing and advertising by ourselves. Because as good as your product is, the truth is no one really cares about it as much as you do.
Yeah.
Right? I care. I can eat a Paleta every single day, and I care so much about it. But that doesn't mean everyone else is going to have that same level of care or prioritize it the same way I do. And so I'm going to come 4 times a week or 5 times a week, like I did back in Albuquerque, you know. So there's always that trade off. So now it's like after the hype died down, that's when we started reevaluating our strategy and how we wanted to push Paleta Bar forward.
It's pretty much like, it's your child and no one really cares about it. Besides, as much as you're like, yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
they'll pick up your child and all right, you know what? And it's like you mentioned, it's like that moment, right? It's in. I feel like you mentioned lucky part, skills and all that. The
Right.
lucky part is could be that it was here in a college area,
Mm-hmm.
people using TikToks,
Right.
and but taking advantage of that luck and going, like okay, like people are driving here, and now it's on the ball's on your court, how they say,
Right.
because like now you gotta give that customer experience. Like okay, they drove to here X amount of hours,
Right.
minutes, whatever it is. So now I have to like, show them that I'm knowledgeable on the product that I have,
Right.
how they can, what they can do with it, I mean, it's a paletas, but as far as like adding different flavors,
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
But and it's not. I'm not saying like, oh, it's just paletas, because
Right.
you can come and be like, oh, I wanna.
Hey guys, come on in.
But you can, be like, okay, now I have the paletas, I have the flavors. What else can I do to it? What else
Right.
can I add to?
So an interesting lesson to learn is that a business isn't a product,
Yes.
right? It's a whole combination of a lot of things. Like Chick-fil-A makes great chicken sandwiches, but it's the customer service, right? It's the whole experience at the store, in addition to how good it tastes.
Right. And a lot of I feel with companies starting is having that natural referral, or the natural marketing by people coming in and be like, okay, like I'm gonna share this on my social. You don't know who's the influencer,
Right.
who's like
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
having that. So I think that's really great. But now it's like like you say, you switch gears to now you have to market, and it's work, but it becomes work, right? Because now you have to post on your social media,
Right.
and then it becomes like you have a family.
Right.
So now it's like finding that time to post and adding and showing your products,
Right.
But from what I've seen so far is like I like how you have that you connect with your followers, right?
You
Like
try.
what flavor you like, what's this flavor that I remember one time was like, what are these three colors? What do you think the flavors
Right.
are? And I'm over there like guessing, and I really want this, because I really want to get it and get it right. So it's interesting to just see that type of marketing that it's different for everyone, right?
Right.
Because now you're switching to you're more of a product company, like as far as like palettes and everything. So not having, okay, this is how I'm going to market with them and communicate with them and connect with them by sharing this information and also trying to bring them over here to the
Right.
store.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Um, uh, what what do you feel is a big advantage for owning a small business?
Yeah, I mean, I did a 9 to 5 corporate job for 5 years, and about 3 months in, I realized that that's not the scene for me. I didn't like the bureaucracy, the management styles of the various managers I had, and more than anything, I wanted to create something for myself, right? A legacy. That said, where I was like, hey, I had a small hand in the creation of this thing that had a positive impact on people's lives. And so that's really the motivation for me to do this. I'm not the only one. It's a family-owned business,
Correct.
right? It's me and my brothers and our families that collectively own this. And so, more than just me doing things for myself, it's also, hey, how can we succeed together as a family? I think that's a really fun part too. Is all of us working together, bouncing ideas off of each other. We're all in this together, and I think we win better when we're together.
Correct.
We all rise together.
Correct. That having that family, and is it yeah, I mean that's kind of I tell people, yeah, it's the 95 is not for everyone.
Right.
Having
I mean, this life isn't for everyone either, right?
yeah, and I agree. And it's just like I wish I could just and I guess my wish is by doing this, right?
Yeah.
Is having people like don't do that 9 to 5. I guess if everyone does it, there's no workers, but you know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like it's like do something else.
Yeah.
Make that
Yeah.
ball, the hamster rolling.
Right.
And do something like that. You can separate like doing something on the side. Start off, but just getting to it and making it happen.
Yeah, with wealth creation, the more revenues of income you have, the more legs you're able to stand on, right? That way, if something comes at you and knocks out one of your legs, you're not stranded, right? If you're at the 9 to 5 and that's all you have, and you lose that job, there goes your only leg.
Yes.
So we want to have multiple legs we stand on.
Okay. Yeah. No. That's totally. Yeah. And so with the what's something that you like about your Paleta Bar? What's something for you that's you can say, hey, out of every flavor or what we do here, what's something that kind of pops out for you?
Yeah, I grew up in Utah, in Provo. I grew up on brownies, on cookies, on sugar, right, on ice cream. I ate that at every social gathering for fun, every party I had it, right. I would get sick of it. It's so sugary and whatnot. You just eat it, you feel sick, you feel heavy, you feel sluggish. And when I ate these paletas down in Albuquerque, I was like, it tastes really good.
Mhm.
It's a dessert,
Yeah.
right? But I didn't feel heavy afterwards. And that's because it's more cream based than sugar based. We don't rely on sugar for the flavor.
Mhm.
And so I can eat 5 or 6 a day,
Yeah.
right? And I still feel totally fine because I'm like, it's not heavy. We don't use like a bunch of artificial ingredients. We use real ingredients when we can. And we rely on a different ingredient than sugar, really.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I feel for me, coming in here like and just it's not just it's like the variety, like so many things you can do.
Yeah.
And being
Uh-huh.
like, hey, I remember like when I brought my family and my daughter's like, oh, I can pick any of these
Right.
toppings to it.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, it's and normally it's like you go to one place and it's like, hey, it's just one flavor, that's
Right.
it,
Uh-huh.
get out of here. And here it's like a family, it's like having that bonding, being able to just enjoy here as a family, and also seeing you as
Right.
as a family as well, like bringing that us all together.
Right. Like you said, back a couple minutes ago, coming to Paleta Bar is more about an experience than anything else. Yeah, the bars are good. You can go to Costco and buy a 20 pack for $5. People come here for really the experience, the whole thing, seeing the bars, dipping in chocolate, adding toppings, just having fun as a family.
Yeah. Nah, just one. And so with what's one thing, a what's something that you can leave here, and that you want to leave into the audience, people watching this, on YouTube, listening to on their, drive from work and everything.
Yeah.
What's something that you feel like you can leave with them and hopefully start that spark, or
Yeah.
knowing,
Yeah,
everything's gonna be good.
that's a good question. My biggest advice to entrepreneurs is just to do it. Fail forward. You never know if you don't try. So cliche to say that, but so many mental barriers are self-imposed, right? We impose it on ourselves, and we disqualify ourselves. But part of it is just you won't always know 100% how things are going to go, right? You maybe know 70%, maybe a little bit less, but that's more than enough to get the ball rolling and just to commit yourself and do it. That's probably the hardest thing. That's why so few people execute and why everyone has an idea.
Correct. And I know, I've heard, some. Do you feel, and you mentioned you with your family, right? It's like you guys work well together.
Yeah.
Do you, knowing that there's other, people that have those family members are like, no, your business is not gonna work out.
Yeah.
You're gonna fail, and I'm sure you heard it. I'm not saying you
Yeah.
personally, but
No,
we've
heard
do
it.
you feel like it's how do you tell someone like ignore that? Like how do you be like, don't listen to that type of noise, just focus on yourself, or what kind of
Yeah. Such a good question. So December before we opened, we had one of the family members, they were like, "Hey, I don't know if this is gonna work out. Um, I don't know if you're the one basically to really lead and spearhead this." And so they sort of dropped out, and it's kind of tough because it's family, you gotta see them on holidays and stuff, and they don't really believe in your vision or believe that, the venture's gonna make it. It can be pretty tough. Um, I think part of it is trusting yourself that you can do it, and having that confidence. And even if you do fail, right, it's not a failure unless you don't learn from it.
Correct.
And apply the lessons to the next venture. So it's really hard to really fail unless you really do give up. And so that's kind of like, for me, I'm like, it's going to be a success no matter what. And I think failure, like people think that you're going to fail, drives me even harder, right? They're like, oh, you can't do it. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to make it my sole mission in life now to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
So that's just me personally, but.
It's recording? Okay. It's just 30 minutes.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So that's like,
yeah.
But then I'll edit.
Yeah.
No, that's good to know. I mean, even coming, like from just, and I wasn't sure like if there was any doubt or someone had that, because I feel like
Yeah.
every
I mean, there's always going to be doubters, right?
yeah.
Friends, family, strangers, random people on the street, right? And there's always going to be doubters. The more successful you get, the doubters don't decrease; they actually increase, right? In number and volume. So it's kind of interesting.
Oh, wow, that's really I like that. Dang, that's that hits because wow, I haven't heard someone say that, but this like you saying success, you get more doubters. Like still, you're never gonna make anyone happy. I feel
Exactly. Yeah.
and it's just like, and then I feel it becomes like envy in a way, like oh
Yeah.
and I mean, and I'm just saying my opinion, and I'm
Right.
just kind of
Right.
because I think it's as having support, for me, like just getting to know you, now personally more, and being like, wow, I was willing in his business, to grow more
Right.
and hopefully bring it closer to home. I'm just kidding,
Right.
but being some, up a little bit north and having that because I think it's a great idea, great so many things and that experience, you bringing that up there would be,
I think the raw emotion behind like FOMO or jealousy or envy is what drives a lot of human behavior. And it's like, for my mindset is we can all win, right? Even if you're selling the same thing we are, if someone wants to do a Paleta Bar or copy it or whatever, go for it.
Yeah.
Right? Do it. Like, I wish you the best. We can all win together. There's no reason to play a zero-sum game. And so I'm always open to like partnerships and collaborations, with anyone. It's really a community effort. Like, so much support and love has been shown to Paleta Bar in the past. That I'd be remiss if I didn't pay it forward,
Correct. And I like that. And honestly, it comes down to, again, I've reached out to some friends that I feel like, that have a business and
right.
And having, I can say a complete stranger before, because now I feel like I'm, getting to know you more and understanding, to being like you giving me the opportunity to be able to come in and record.
Yeah.
Because you could have easily ignored the message. You could have easily said no, and but for you to right away being like yes, like, and for me, using this to, at the end of the day, I want to be able to use it and promote businesses, right?
Right.
Because if you're succeeding, if this helps any bit in any way, for you, your success, I feel good about it.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at anything like for myself personally, besides the skills of like continuing this, the interview process of like interviewing people, and also my editing and all the other skills that I do on this back end.
Right. So I heard a phrase once that has stuck with me, and it's people before profits.
Yeah.
And that includes, customers, staff, other businesses, just anyone you might meet, right? I think starting a business and earning a profit is very important. You need to be able to survive and, continue operating and whatnot, but you shouldn't put that before the people, because really the people are what make the heart of a business beat, So for me, I I'm really grateful for every single person that comes in, every single person that reaches out to us on Instagram. I read every single message, I read every single review. Um, and so I really think it's important to put the focus on the people, and the profits will come later. Yeah.
No, totally agree. And I wish, from all this, the process that you going through, making this happen here. I hope that people do take that as well. Like, if they have their business to kind of being like, maybe that's what's, they're not advancing in a way because they're putting profit over people.
Yeah.
But hopefully it changes someone's ways, and seeing that, the profit that way,
Yeah.
putting the people in, first. So I really like all that, sharing, and then bringing so much knowledge, I feel, from this. um is there, and then you don't have to answer on this one, but if, with that being a venture, a vision, do you envision something else for Paleta Bar, or for you, is
Yeah.
it is it um doing something else open besides, keeping this, but also, and again, if you don't want to answer, you can come in, hey,
Yeah.
no comment on that. But is it something that you see else coming?
I think in the next 3 to 5 years, our primary focus is going to be Paleta Bar,
Okay.
ensuring its survival and that it's going to be thriving. Just because the product is so good, like I'm in love with it.
Mhm.
My hope is to bring it to as many people as possible. That's going to be my sole focus for the next 5 years. And after that, my wife is from Singapore. We hope to be able to move back to her home one day in Southeast Asia, and that's kind of long-term goal.
Yeah.
Paleta Bar is kind of a stepping stone for us to get there. We like it? Yes, we love it. We love Paleta Bar. Is it going to be our sole thing for our entire lives? Maybe not. I think it's realistic. It's okay to be realistic about that.
Yeah. And then just, before we end this episode here, I the your Paleta Bar offer as far as like catering.
Yep.
What type of services do you offer with your business?
Yeah, so we have the storefront for the full experience. You want to customize it, you want to see it dipped in chocolate, come to our store. It's on 1283 North University Avenue, Provo, Utah. We also do catering events. So we have a traditional Mexican push cart that looks adorable, and it's very mobile, so it can fit almost anywhere. And we've done weddings, we've done conferences, we've done birthday parties, and it's really easy to book online. And so we do just about everything: sweet 16s, quinceañeras, things like that. Any kind of celebration, we can be there.
And how can people, clients, future clients, how can they find you? Where can they reach you at?
Yeah, good question.
You can plug
Yeah.
in all that good stuff here.
Yeah, so we have our Instagram, part of our Utah, and we also have our our website as well, paletabarutah.com, or our email, paletabarprovo@gmail.com.
Okay. And then, last and not least, anything else that you want to leave to the listeners and to the viewers?
Just go do it. Just do it and have fun, and every day's a blast.
All right. Well, everyone, thanks again for listening and watching the video here at Visions to Ventures. This episode's it's been amazing. I've been so much information given. Really quotes, that I'm gonna say come from you, because it was just like,
Appreciate
right on the
that.
spot, that I feel as I'm myself reading the book, and I'm like, there's no one else gonna say that, and then you coming and saying that, I'm like, wow, it really shows me the type of person you are, and I know this business for you is gonna be successful, and many things coming your way, and I'm so, again, grateful for the opportunity, for answering my DM. And trust me, I was joking around about making the trip. I'll make the trip again. 'Cause,
Appreciate it.
You have paletas are amazing, and just the customer experience is amazing. So
Appreciate it.
again, everyone, thank you again, for here in the episode of Business to Ventures, and we appreciate your time, and have a good day.
Thank you so much.